So today is May, I have to think, 20th? No, 21st. Today is the 21st. And I'm making this video, and I'm going to put it on both of my YouTube channels. I feel like I need to reach as many people as possible. I'm asking for support and love. Anything that you can send me. So I started a YouTube channel several months ago, maybe December, when my son was in the mission field. It was so I could vent and air my frustrations with things that I was feeling concerning his mission. And then I had a huge shift through a teepee ceremony. A lot of healing, a lot of forgiving was done, and I felt like I really didn't need the channel anymore for that purpose. And I shared my teepee experience with that channel, and then I haven't had anything to say till today. It started a few weeks ago. My son reached out to me saying that he wanted to come home, that he was struggling with depression, and that he felt like his mission was complete and he wanted to leave. To me, this felt out of the blue. I was not thinking that he was struggling. Of course, I had not read all of the emails that he had sent home to the family, because it did create pain in me to hear him speak as a missionary. So I just read the emails that he sent to me personally, and me personally, he had never reached out and said that he was struggling. So the phone call I received from him on April 29th was the first time that I had any realization that my son was in pain. Other than I knew something was coming, and I wrote him that on, I believe, April 1st. I wrote him an email and told him what I saw, which was basically that he was headed for a breaking point, and that something was going to happen, and his world was going to be shaken. And it happened a lot quicker than I expected. Happened just a few weeks later. After I sent that email, his world was shaken. And my point here is not to share so much of his story, but mine as his mother, as a person who felt completely helpless 4,000 miles away. My son's in crisis, and there's nothing I can do about it, to a point. Unless you understand energy and know how to connect with that. There was things that I could do, and I did them. I did everything within my power to help bring my son home. And the people in this situation that angered me the most was his counselor, his mission president, and our stake president. And our stake president, so I really realized the depth of my son's crisis on Mother's Day when he called home. Mother's Day was truly hell for me, because I saw a child of mine in full-blown crisis, and there was nothing I could do for him in that moment, other than use my words, and my energy to send as much love and support as I could, and then try to connect with that divinity within myself to find out what needed to happen next. So Mother's Day was horrible. from that standpoint. And then I couldn't sleep at all. And at some point I'll share what happened during the night. But in the next morning, I reached out to the stake president because I knew my stake president had been in touch with my son. So he was my only direct link to my child. And so I reached out to him. Now, my stake president was my bishop when I left the church 8 years ago. So I know this man and he knows me. We have a history. There's a connection there. And I also understand that my son checked a little box on his mission papers that said, do not contact my mother. And that was the way we wanted it. I didn't want to have any contact from the church. I didn't want them bothering me. So in the beginning, do not contact was great. That all changed when I reached out to my stake president and said, contact me. I need to talk to you. My son's in crisis. He wants to come home. This is a very serious situation, and call me back. That should override a stupid check mark on a piece of paper. But apparently, they're so anal about some rules and not about others. So my stake president chose to ignore me with multiple calls that I left him. He never called me back. So here I am, ex-Mormon, been out of the church for 8 years. I don't know where to turn. So I grabbed my old word list, which has names on it from 2011. And I start calling people to try and find the new bishop, because I don't even know who the new bishop is. Never met him. Finally get a hold of a man, a neighbor, and he tells me he's no longer in the church, but he knows how he can find the bishop. And because he still has good connections in the ward. I don't. So he gets word to the bishop to call me that I'm in crisis and need help. And our bishop reached out to me, which I so appreciate more than anything. And he listened to me for 30 minutes. I pretty much just ranted like I am and told him how it felt as a mother. As a mother, it felt like my son was being held against his will. He had said multiple times that he wanted to come home. For 3 weeks, he'd been saying he wanted to come home, and they would not allow it. Maybe at this point it was 2 weeks he'd been saying he wanted to come home. Their solution to this situation was to put him on drugs, to medicate him, which is fine if you need medication. And I grant it, my son probably does. That's not what I'm arguing here. What I'm arguing is that they ignored the other signs and problems that my son was going through, because those things would definitely send him home. They didn't want to deal with that. The easiest way for them to deal with my son was to give him a pill, tell him to wait 3 weeks, go pray, whatever, and then they would deal with it. They are delaying my son's escape. That's how I put it, right? So as a mother, I'm furious. They're keeping my son 4,000 miles away against his will. He's made it clear he wants to leave. He's made it clear he does not want to start medication there. They've made it clear to him if he wants to even talk about getting out, he has to start medication. So he does. And that is a huge catalyst in my son's problems getting worse, was because of that. But there's always blessings through the hell that you go through. And it turned out to be a blessing in disguise for my son, because it ended up being a reason why he was able to come home as quickly as he did. So the bishop gets an earful from me, and by the end of our conversation, he understands that my son is in crisis and it's very serious. And he promises to get in touch with the stake president, who I asked personally. I said, please tell him to call me. Because again, this man, the stake president, has actually talked to my son. Nobody else has. Other than me. But so I asked him to personally convey that message, that I want the stake president to reach out to me. He doesn't. He does not reach out to me. Instead, he reaches out to my husband, who's in California. That's where he works, and has nothing to do with this immediate situation. He contacts him. So to me, this just screams patriarchal control, right? He wants nothing to do with me. And he refuses to hear what I desperately wanted to say at that moment, and continues to ignore me and just talks to my husband. So fine, I got a hold of the person who makes appointments, who schedules for the stake president, and I reached out to him and said, look, my husband is not at home. I need to know what's going on, because my son at this point was coming home, and I needed to know when he was going to be released from his mission. And so this man started talking to me, which was great. I appreciated that he actually did his job and got back with me when I made contact with him. So fast forward, we get my son home last Thursday. He came home, and it was such a relief to have him get off that plane and be in my arms. I can't even express how grateful I was that he was back in one piece. And so that night was when we had to meet with the stake president. And I'm still fuming because this man has never once reached out to me. And we go through the process of my son being released. When that is done and he declares him officially not a missionary anymore, he can take off his name tags and go live a normal life. When we were leaving, I made it clear to him that I was going to come back and talk to him. And that is happening tonight. And I pray that I will be just as in the same space that I am, firm, talk clearly so he can understand what I'm trying to say, but at the same time convey the full pain and anger that I feel just as a parent about what my son went through and what I went through to get him home. In my opinion, 100%, the Holy Ghost was absent with these men when they were dealing with my son. They were not considering my son's best interests at heart. They were considering their own. The number. He was a missionary. He was a number, and that's what his worth was to them. Because if he was worth anything more than that, they would have got him out 2 weeks earlier. And I absolutely feel 100% that we could sue over what happened to my son. But I also know that that is not the route any one of us wants to go. That suing the church or suing these men that neglected and abused him, those are the words I'm going to use. He was neglected and abused. It's not a fight I want to go through. It's not a fight I want to put my son through. Forget that. I kind of want tonight to be the end. I want to go talk to my stake president, say what I have to say, and be done and have it in the rearview mirror. Is that going to happen? I'm not sure, because there's a really good chance that they will want to excommunicate me. And that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. I have said all along, I'm an apostate. I am not an active member of this church. I don't believe in this church. I've written a book all about my journey out of the church, and I've said multiple times that I don't believe what this church teaches. I don't want them to excommunicate me, because I do think it would bring further pain to my family. For those few people that are left that still believe it, they should just leave me alone. But I don't think that they will. We'll see. I could be wrong. They might just leave me alone, and then this will be the end of it. But if they don't, I won't go out quietly. I will talk about every bit of the process as I go through it. So it's up to them what they're going to do from this point forward. But I am putting this on my YouTube channel because, number one, I want whatever little bit of love and support I can get, I'm asking for. If you pray, pray. If you chant and meditate, chant and meditate. If you just want to wish me good luck, wish me freaking good luck, because I'm going to need it. These men in leadership in the church think they can't make a mistake. They think they're all-knowing, all-powerful, and they sure as hell I'm not going to want to listen to an ex-Mormon woman not truly ex-Mormon. My name is still on the record of the church, which I'm grateful for at this point, because he has to listen to me. It's his job. As a member of this church, it is my right to go in and talk to him and confess all my sins, right? Which is that I don't believe. So I'm happy to do that. And I hope he will listen to me and take everything I have to say seriously. Don't have a lot of faith that it will change anything. But I do hope that if ever he is in a similar position with one member of the church out, one parent out of the church, one parent in, and a child on a mission, I hope he does things differently. I hope he treats them better than he treated me. Because he sure as hell did not treat me good. He sure as hell made it clear he wanted nothing to do with me. And that was a mistake. So he's going to get his earful. And then hopefully it'll just be over. Or maybe it'll be the start. I honestly don't know. But I'm mad as hell. And I want somebody from the church other than Bishop, because he's had a taste of my fury, but that was before. This is now. There's a big difference between what's happened in the last few days. And it's pouring rain, which I love. It was pouring rain when my son was released from his mission. But as soon as we walked out of the chapel, it had stopped raining. And it was so beautiful. And my 13-year-old son was, look, God's happy you left the church. God's happy you're off your mission. He stopped the rain for us. And it was just made me laugh. Because my 13-year-old really has not been raised in the church at all. So he doesn't have the brainwashing and the conditioning. And he just says what he was thinking. And it was perfectly true. And that was the confirmation my son had as well when he was in Peru, that it from God, that it was okay for him to leave his mission. But he sure as hell could not get that across to the leaders who had him held captive, in my opinion, that it was okay for him to go home. It took drastic measures for my son to get them to listen. And if anyone needs to be repenting in this situation, it's those three men. The stake president, my son's counselor, they never even met in face to face, and the mission president. They should be held accountable for this, but they won't be. They won't be. So I'm going to go say what I need to say. And again, any love, support, anything you send my way would be appreciated. Because this mama bear is going to go on the attack. I'm going to go say what the hell has been boiling inside of me for this past week. And in truth, it's more than that, because I've been an ex-Mormon for 8 years. So yeah, there's anger that goes way back. And I'm just going to lay it all out there and hope for the best. But I will not be silent. That is just not going to happen. I'm going to say what needs to be said, come hell or high water. They can do whatever they want with me after I say what I'm going to say. So just think of me. Send me love, light, and support, well wishes, whatever. I'll take it all. And then I will return and report. Absolutely. Might take a day or two, depending on how upset I am with how he's going to try and justify it. Maybe he won't say anything to me, or maybe he's going to try and justify it. If he tries to justify what he did, then I will be pissed. So, but I will definitely share what happens. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers, and wish me luck. Namaste.